All right, what's up, guys? We're back with another episode of Crypto is Depressing. We are here with Big Crypto Dave. Your Twitter handle is at crypto_Dave_, right? I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So there were some other pretenders that already had the similar handle. So
All
I
right.
It's crazy what
had to
happened in
put a little stank on it.
2017, right? Everyone kind of just, went for the crypto handles. I don't know when you made your Twitter account. Actually, could have made it way before then, but I feel like everything is now taken. So I've tried to find new handles, and they're all taken.
Yeah. Well, I actually got into Twitter. I think it was January 2012,
Oh,
and that was because the guy who we'll get into this story later, but I was one of those guys that ran around mining stuff on World of Warcraft. And one of the Chinese buyers told me, he's like, if you want to learn more about crypto, it's like everybody's on Twitter, so head over there. And I just lurked, for a couple of years, watching everything. And I'll tell you here in a little bit about that story where I lost all that Bitcoin, and you'll know why I was only lurking after that.
so before we get into that story, do you think you could just give us a little bit more of a rundown on yourself?
Yeah. So I used to do a little bit of trading. I know a lot of people who listen to your stuff are traders. I was mostly New York Stock Exchange long term trading for stuff that paid dividends or was low risk. So uh, for a while there, I'd usually get probably an annual return of like 22, 23%. So, you know, I'm not, uh, I'm not a noob when it comes to trading, but I try not to be one of those guys that's just always posting charts on Twitter. I'm legit one of the people that's kind of here for the empowerment of cryptocurrencies. It's sovereign money. It's hard money. So yeah, it's, making gobs of money when the market goes up is one good aspect. But I just really love the tech.
There we go. We actually just recorded an episode with Jeebus. I don't know if you know him, Jeremy Ross. He's more of an OG, and he's been around for a while. We actually got into his thoughts on where the entire market is heading, and we're kind of at a cusp, is what he was saying. And I think he was right in saying this, and that, with the global economy crashing, it could potentially be the death of Bitcoin, which is hard to say. And I know people have some very strong opinions on that. You're already shaking your head. Do you disagree with that statement right there?
Yeah, I disagree a whole lot because there's last time I looked, they said there was what, like 11.5 million Bitcoin that haven't moved for like a long time. So I think people have seen the roller coaster long enough to know that they just got to hodl. I'm trying not to be um, too much of a regurgitator of the crypto rhetoric here, but some people just aren't going to sell. They're never going to sell. I don't care if it goes down to single digits. So um, the speculators, I think, right now are the main reason why a lot of the money's going out. Plus, new hardware becoming available from Bitmain and a couple other companies is, people need to liquidate some Bitcoin in order to buy that. So it's not just electricity costs, but it's also new hardware coming into the market that's causing a lot of this selling pressure.
There we go. On top of that, another argument that was made was that, a lot of the people that have been around for a while, I think they will be safe. They're not going to need to sell off all of their Bitcoin. But for anyone who's newer to the industry, when there's more of a liquidity crunch, they could, sell the more speculative assets, because I think that Bitcoin is still very speculative at the moment. I
Yeah.
mean, again, though, I am a long-term believer. That's why I'm still here. That's why I'm invested in Bitcoin. That's why I host a podcast in the industry. But I mean, there is that off chance that, things go south, in my opinion. But we don't need to get into that too much. There's actually a story that you hit me up. You hit my DMs about it, and I don't know if you want to get into that.
Yeah, we might as well get into it. And since you were talking to Ash earlier about her propensity to get a little drunk during the
Oh, I
episode,
love it. I
just
love
opened
it.
a beer
I
too.
got-
So yay!
I got some Four Loko here.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh my god,
Here's-
that like gives me like nightmares.
Oh yeah. I love it. I appreciate that you cracked that right there. Looks like Ash has got is that a truly a White Claw?
No, it's an ultra.
A Michelob Ultra. There we
Yeah.
go.
Better not be drinking that weak white claw shit here.
You
And I
have the
saw you,
authority to say that because you're cracking your Four Loko.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Only
You're
the hard
madman.
stuff.
What time is it right now? Like it's 2 p.m. for me. I don't know if it's later in the day.
I'm
for
on the
you.
East Coast.
Okay.
It's 5 over here.
There we
5
go.
o'clock there. It's 4 here, so we're good.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys are good.
And I got my vape out too.
You're ready for this
cheers there
episode.
too, Ash.
Cheers.
You are ready for this episode.
Yes, sir.
All
All right,
right,
so
go in.
let's get to the story. So I was a big WoW player back in the late 2000s. I was an off tank for a raiding guild called Burn Phase, and so I wasn't the off tank. I was like kind of third, fourth tier, so I was always just left, to my own devices while they were raiding. And I had a undead warrior named I Eat Brains, and he'd run around doing his thing, gathering herbs. And I don't know if you guys know too much about WoW.
I do not
auction
know.
house.
I never got into it, unfortunately.
Yeah, a lot of old crypto guys know what I'm talking about. Wasn't that Vitalik Buterin's thing? Like he got pissed off because they nerfed his warlock or his mage, something like that.
Potentially, I've never heard anything of the sort. That might have just been too early for me.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you look back, you'll find the story. But anyway, so I was trying to make some extra money while they were off raiding, and I was playing the auction house, which was making pretty good gold. And I saw these YouTube videos where it was just these rooms filled with people that were actually doing the same thing on WoW, making like real money by selling it third party to players that didn't want to play for like 10 plus hours a day to try and make some extra gold. So I got into what they call botting programs, where basically you can have this program running in the background and it's playing your character for you. Hold on real quick. My boy's down here. I think my kids were trying to sneak onto the podcast.
Oh no.
But, so yeah, I had these bot programs running, and then eventually I talked my wife into letting me play on her account, and then I bought a couple accounts, just regular cash at this point. And so 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I have these programs running in the background. I believe it's called Glider, and there was this extra program that ran along with it called Pather, where it's working for you while you're not at the computer. And so just on those 4 accounts, I was making like $2.5, $3 a day. It was around $350 a month. And so my guy who I talked to, and this is how long ago it was, we communicated on Yahoo chat. So yeah, that was
so
popular at the time.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So he told me, he's like, I'm running low on funds. How do you feel about Bitcoin? And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Because, it's usually just pay me like through PayPal. And he gave me like the bare bones explanation of it. And I was like, oh, so it's just another like digital dollar. It's something people use instead of a dollar to get value from here to there. And so I was like, sure. And I'm one to say maybe 6 weeks worth of mining. Like it came up to around like 250 Bitcoin is what I had.
Okay, so when you say 250 Bitcoin, people are losing their goddamn minds, because that is an ungodly amount of money now. But back then it was, obviously much less.
Yeah, and this is in late 2011. So he gives me that. The price drops. I think it was around maybe worth. It was around $550, I think, at the time when he gave it to me. So come, after I've done this for like a couple months, I'm like, what, I'm gonna upgrade. I'm gonna go big time. I'm gonna, get another gaming computer, because at the time, gaming computers, if you turn down all the settings on the video and everything, you can have multiple instances of WoW running at the same time, doing this with all being botted at the same time. So I was able to get 12 more accounts. I think this was in like late January 2012, and I paid. They had gone up a little bit by then, so I paid like $1,000, uh, uh, basically with that 250 Bitcoin, to one of his Chinese miner buddies. And so I had 12 extra accounts that came to like 16 accounts in total, all mining 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I was making like $50 a day. I was on pace to make $1,500 a month. That's how I talked my wife into letting me do all this and spend all this money on hardware and WoW accounts. And there's it still makes me mad today when I think about it. But there was an upgrade that happened. I think this was during the Cataclysm Hour of Twilight patch, and there was a huge ban wave that just hit all these people that were botting, and I lost all 16 accounts along with that 250 Bitcoin that I paid for everything.
How long into this whole endeavor were you? Like, had you recouped your money yet, or was this shortly after?
No, like this was shortly after.
Okay,
so it's late January when I got those 12 new accounts, and this happened. I think it was like first or second week of February.
Oh my god. Okay, so almost instantly.
Yeah.
So your wife was probably.
I came out to. Yeah, she was pissed.
Oh, I bet.
I came out to the living room, and I had my computer set up, two gaming computers going, and all 16 windows was like the loading screen for WoW. And I sat down and I was like, I don't want to joke about it, because like it's a lot of people have like hit rock bottom at certain points in their life, but that was pretty hard.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, shortly after, I'm not trying to pile on too much of the woe is me, but like after that happened, I lost the job that I had. I was a Pizza Hut delivery driver at the time. And I remember I had to go to a place called the Vineyard, which is like a church in Springdale, Ohio. And they, it's basically like a soup kitchen type deal where you go there and, you get food and clothing and, whatever you need if you're like super hard on times. And that day always sticks with me because that was, pretty bad. I mean, we were already on food stamps, barely making rent. I was not only a Pizza Hut delivery driver, but I was also helping this guy run a 33 unit apartment complex, and he was just paying me peanuts to do it. So yeah, it was pretty rough.
So this could be considered kind of your rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about, but you are still here now. So obviously there's some light at the end of this tunnel, and this story kind of has a happier ending. But can we talk about, so how did your wife take it, after you kind of realized that, hey, I'd lost all of this?
Well, it was fairly still recent in our relationship. So she knew that we were already struggling, and she didn't, like, when I sold the Bitcoin, she didn't know it was worth like $1,000. So she didn't know just how bad it was, but she knew I'd already spent like hundreds of dollars just on the computer hardware. So yeah, we didn't, we weren't like at each other's throats or anything about it, but I was, in the doghouse for probably a month or two after that.
Yeah,
Really tough times.
definitely.
Yeah, and so there's since you talk about there being a light at the end
I
of the
was
tunnel,
I was gonna ask.
there's
You
a
know,
peak and a valley coming.
yeah, I was gonna ask, when did things kind of turn around? Because I mean, crypto, Bitcoin, you know, after that started rising pretty quickly. Did you buy any more Bitcoin after that happened, or how'd that story go?
No, no. After that happened, like I just kind of withdrew into myself. I was like extremely depressed. I, I like even then I wasn't like keeping my finger on the pulse of crypto that much when I was lurking around on Twitter, and I just kind of withdrew into myself. And whenever I wasn't working, I was playing WoW. Like I re-rolled another tune or account, whatever you want to call it, and I was playing this priest. I think it was a disc priest at the time called Hungers. And if you want to, like, after this, you could go even see on YouTube. There's an old video of one of our raids. I think it was we were taking on Ultraxion, which is one of these bosses, and you could see my little character there, Hungers, doing his thing from 2012. But yeah, that's all I did. I just played WoW, and I completely walked away from crypto, stopped paying attention to everything, and I'm part of this big group on Facebook where they're all supporters of the Zeitgeist movement and the Venus Project, basically resource-based economic type of people, and they started talking about Bitcoin in like 2016 to the point that I was so angry that they kept talking about it. I made one of those. I made one of those Samuel L. Jackson memes, like "Say Bitcoin again, motherfucker," you know. And then they wouldn't shut up about it, so I checked, and it was like in the thousands. I was just kind of surreal and bitter at the point because I was like, man, if I only held on to that, if I didn't trade it for some stupid WoW accounts, I'd be sitting on easy street. But needless to say, I got into some of the altcoin things. What a lot of people do when they first look at Bitcoin and see how expensive it is, they're just like, oh, I'll get on one of these other projects that hasn't boomed yet. So I was like on Telegram, Discord stuff, and this is where the peak comes in because I got connected with this one guy who was starting a new project. And if I'm being overly vague here, it's for a reason. I've signed an NDA with these guys, and I can't be too specific about it.
We totally understand. It's not a problem.
Okay. So they were partnered up with a Chinese company that was going to make these custom-made PCBs or motherboards, whatever you want to call them. And it was like a 6 GPU enclosed open air miner where basically each GPU also had an accompanying FPGA chip that went along with it. Because usually you can get up to around 12 PCIe lanes on one of these GPU type of rigs. So if you only go 6 GPUs, you got all those open PCIe lanes to go with the FPGA. Very similar to what Squirrel was trying to do with their little FPGA things that fit in the M.2. So, I was kind of hired in as a advisor / promoter, and the guy talked me up on what the vision was, what we were going to do. Asked me for my input as a miner because by this time I was GPU mining, and the project it seemed legit.
They all did.
I know a lot of I know everybody knows where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I saw pictures from the manufacturing company. It could have been that when they exited, it was just they were scared because Bitcoin had gone from almost 20,000 to what was it, like 14,000 in beginning of February, and the whole reason that I got started actually participating in crypto Twitter from 2016 2017 was because of them. I was going to be a promoter for the project, and they'd already paid me a few ETH to do it. And so of all the peaks and valleys, I'm still kind of I've had a couple peaks and a couple valleys, and I'm on my way back up. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to work for a project that fails. Definitely.
Yeah. I remember the day, the beginning of February when they went dark.
Yeah.
And I was just like, deja vu.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be making all this money because I was holding a bunch of their shit coins, and I'd already made a few ETH. I donated like one full ETH to this humanitarian project that was helping the people over in Hong Kong, and I could have had a bigger nest egg built, but I always figured I had more money coming, so I was spending it liberally, and here I am. I'm trying to build my way back up, and I really don't know where I want to go with the whole Twitter thing. I'm kind of contributing with digitalcurrencyguy.com with some of their paid group meetings that they have, and it's me and Deshaun. I think his Twitter handle is 6'7" don't ball. Me and him talked about starting a podcast, and we'll just see where it goes from there. But yeah, I've been wrecked a couple times in crypto.
It sounds pretty rough, but you also sound very resilient. You're here. You're able to talk about it. I know some of it's a little bit touchy, and we try to make light of some situations. There are others that it's kind of hard to see any kind of positive from it. But I mean, even from that first original story that Bitcoin was introduced into your life at that point, and it's been on the radar since. I know there was a time when you sold it and kind of forgot about it, but you were able to realize its potential when it came back around that second time. And that's kind of what's kept you in the industry. Do you have any tips? Because you've dealt with two major financial blows, I would say. And I think a lot of people out there have at least experienced that to some extent. So do you have any tips for those guys? Because it's going to happen to the newer folks who haven't seen it yet, who just get, absolutely wrecked, blown out. A company or coin, either exit scams or just goes dark or goes under. So do you have any tips for them on kind of restarting and building back up?
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't want to admit this, but Bitcoin is to the crypto market what GM is to the American markets. Or what it used to be. The rising tide is going to raise all ships, so it is one of the safest things to invest in. There's last couple of years, there's been a lot of these YouTube people that have promoted margin trading, and I'm kind of guilty of this too, but not to the extent that I'm getting some kickback about it. It's like if I ever have like a winning trade every now and then, I'll post it, or I'll put a chart up and say, hey, this might be a good move or something like that. But really, margin trading sites like BitMEX, Bybit, just stay the fuck away from them. It's a loser's game, man. It's true. It truly is. Unless you're somebody who's been in the space for a while and you're a very exceptional trader, you can lose a lot of money. I've lost over a Bitcoin doing dumb stuff on certain sites that I can't go on because I live in America.
Yeah, you shouldn't be on in the first place.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time. So anyway, just buy and hold. Like you get every time you get a check, set aside a percentage, buy a little bit here, a little bit there, every week, every 2 weeks, however you get paid, and just forget it until everybody starts losing their mind about the market going crazy. Because that's usually the best time to take your wins and get ready for the next bottom.
Right. It's hard in the moment though, because I think even in 2017 when a lot of people were getting in, we all thought, okay, 20,000, what's next? 50,000. Oh, what's after that? 100,000. But there were some telltale signs. Everyone getting into the market. That's a great tip for anybody. What about the people specifically who have like, you know, woken up and seen that one of their alts has completely collapsed, or they've, like you bought some new hardware and it ended up being, you know, all for nothing. You know, do you have any tips for them of like a total reset? Like, there's people who this happens to them and they're like, I'm done, I'm out of the market, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, like how to pull yourself out of that, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
dark mindset place.
Or pull yourself out like emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I know it's a serious topic, but
Yeah.
yes, how to.
Just walk away.
You think
Walk
so?
away. Find a new hobby, something to. I mean, you can kind of keep your, if you want to keep, putting some money in, just stick with the big boys. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all that stuff, like passively. But yeah, I mean, if you're at that point where you're like, thinking about taking some pills and drinking them down with, some alcohol, it's one of those things where uh, true inspiration has to come from within. It's you manifest what you put your heart and your mind to, and if you keep obsessing over it, you're just going to keep digging a deeper hole. So, you know, I don't, especially with today's climate, I don't want to talk anybody out of being in crypto, but I mean, you have to stop, playing these mind games with yourself that, oh, I can only buy a fraction of this because it's so high. Maybe if I put money over here because I heard so and so on YouTube say it's going to be, $10 in a couple of years. You're just setting yourself up for failure. I mean, if you really want to, again, this is very cliche. The people always say that not put more money in than you're willing to lose, and for your mental health, that is probably the best thing to do. Because I went all in a couple times on a couple things, spent more money than I should, and I got hit pretty hard twice.
Okay, there we go. So you're potentially saying to walk away from it all. Is there a point where if this were to happen to you again, like something that happened in 2011 or in early 2018, do you think you could ever walk away from everything?
I don't think it's going to happen because I've extremely divested myself out of speculative things like that, other than Bitcoin, and I'm just passively kind of reinvesting in right now. So if something were to happen in crypto, which I highly doubt, I don't have as much money in there that it would wreck me the way it has the last couple times, and it's. Uh, with the way the climate is, like my wife and I, we're both in are called essential industries. She's in the old stuff I used to do with security, and I'm with the logistics company that handles medical and military contracts. So, we're making enough money to where it's not an issue right now. And if somebody's really down on their luck and they've lost a lot, I would highly recommend, if something is in their wheelhouse, as far as what their skill set is, then they should just put their nose down and start building themselves back up, and just worry about the crypto thing passively. Get out of Twitter, stop watching these YouTube video guys, especially if they're the ones who are like pushing this margin trading, because that's what gets most people wrecked. It's going to plant seeds in your head. You're going to be like, oh man, if I only do 2x, if I only do 3x, I just, keep adding here and there, and, cross your fingers and hope Arthur Mays doesn't come down the chimney to, sock you in the face. So,
Yeah.
That's kind of the best thing to do, is just be into it passively. Don't invest yourself so heavily that it's going to hurt your psyche, hurt your soul when something like that happens.
There we go. Ash, I think we've talked about it before, is there a point where you would just say, no, fuck this, I'm out?
I I think there is, but I just don't know what it is at this point in time. But I think it's too because I haven't been I don't know. I feel like I am on crypto Twitter a lot, but I don't like check my portfolio a lot. I don't trade. So maybe that is kind of one of those things that keeps me like, okay, well, I'm still here. You know what I mean? I don't know that there is going to be a point where I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm out. Unless somebody just really, really like fucking pisses me off on Twitter or something. Like, but it would take a lot to get there. As far as like selling everything and just like walking away, I don't know that the financial position that I'm in doesn't really dictate. Like I haven't put in more than I can afford to lose. So, and that's something that somebody, whenever I first got in, they told me that right off the bat. And luckily I did take that advice. So, you know, I'm kind of just at that point where if it's gone, then it's gone. What about you, Charles?
No, I think I got in. I wouldn't say early enough, but I think I got in early enough to where I can happily say that I'm comfortable watching Bitcoin decline for much longer. Even at today's prices, I think it's still laughable almost to think that I would get shaken out by another price drop.
Yeah. Well, I think I agree with you, Dave. Staying away from, you know, the margin trading is really important, especially if you're in a position financially where you can't afford to lose that much money. So I would agree with you on that.
I'm over
like
here.
I said,
I'm a degenerate, so I'm all for the gambling.
Like I said, I was no stranger to trading when I was, you know, doing the margin trading on the sites that shall not be named, and I still got wrecked. So,
yeah,
you know, it's certain sites, especially BitMEX. Jesus Christ, that's just a crypto trap, is what that is.
There's gonna be some people out there saying, you know, I know what I'm doing. I do just fine on there, and I think that's just something you need to realize is like, you know, you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're like, you look at the MEX leaderboard, and there's some people who have made ungodly amounts of money, and you know, more power to them. It's not for everybody, and I think that's just something that you need to figure out kind of within yourself, and you need to know your skill set. There is one more question I did have for you because, you know, 250 Bitcoin. If you look at that price today, it is an insane amount of money, and I feel like a lot of people. I think it's like $1.5 million or something like that, something crazy. And
it's 4.8 at the peak, I think.
Oh God, that just hurts to hear. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that. They think, oh, I lost this much back in the day, or I should have bought this much more back in the day, and they dwell on that a lot. Do you have any tips for kind of getting over that and not dwelling on how much you lost, how much you could have bought, yada yada yada?
You know, I besides, you know, when I got into WoW and was playing that nonstop and just kind of drowning my sorrows and other things, what really helped was I don't know if how much time we got left. Okay, I think we got a few minutes.
Yeah.
I did some really dumb shit when I was like in my teens, late teens, early 20s. You remember, you guys are probably really young, but the Fast and the Furious just came out.
Oh yeah, I remember Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I was into street racing. I was part of that crowd. I was running with this crew, and we, you know, we're robbing places, and you know, I got.
Did you just say robbing places?
Yeah.
You just dropped that so casually.
Yeah. So I've already mentioned it multiple times on my crypto, or on my Twitter. But what happened was my stepmom was real sick. She was dying of cancer, and I was just this angry teen, mad at the world, pissed off, and my dad and my brother were both you know, multi-generation race car drivers, you know, like drag racing, and so my way of kind of like thumbing my nose at them and doing my own thing is they were big American muscle, and I was import Japanese cars. I had a Mitsubishi and a Toyota, and to help pay for all the upgrades and aftermarket parts and stuff that we were putting on our cars. Me and the crew that I was running with, the we were just going around to like businesses that were closed after hours and robbing whatever high dollar electronic stuff that they had in there.
You're a
And
madman.
I did like 3 years. So, it's it's a slippery slope when you get depressed about certain things, and you can just let your let that pain dictate where you go in life. And it's a lot of people in crypto can probably relate to that, because it's not just getting wrecked financially, it's you get wrecked emotionally. And I just what was it, a couple hours ago, I saw that interview you did with Ash Toshi here, and I was like shaking my head at how many times she was talking about the way the depression hits you. It's very easy to just let it take you down paths that you would never go down. And with the way the world is set up, like everybody, I don't know if you know this, but like the movie The Matrix, it's basically an allegory to basically the bondage that we're all entrapped in. Like the Matrix is the system of fractional reserve banking and money, and the government is the architect, and we're just the status quo warriors walking around saying this is the best system that we got. We gotta earn to live, and it's the best thing that you could do if you're going to swim in that type of pond is make yourself indisposable, make yourself valuable to the company that you work for, or find a new company to work for and start earning. And that's where I'm at now. We've before I claim my expenses every year, and we pay our taxes, like my wife and I are very close to six figures. So that's definitely helped drag us up out of that funk.
Huge congratulations there.
Yeah,
Honestly,
congrats.
it's the I don't know how to properly put this into words. It's like the complete lowest low you could get to, and now you're slowly but surely clawing your way back up. And it sounds like you guys have done a phenomenal job of it. And you're now at the
Yeah,
point where
like
you can talk about it openly.
yeah, like 2 years ago, I started when everything peaked. I built a mining farm. I had multiple GPU rigs and ASICs in there running, and I was making hella coin at the time. So I was happy. Times were good, but just like you, everybody else who's listening to this, who's been into crypto for a few years, I went through it all with you, and here we are on the bottom part of the roller coaster on the way back up.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to share everything too, because I think it really does help for people to know that they're not the only ones that have gone through some shit in this industry. So thank you for sharing all of that. We're probably going to kick off in like 30 seconds. So if there's anything else you kind of want to wrap up with, go ahead and go off.
All right. Well, like I said, there's I rip on the YouTube guys a lot, but there's a lot of people out there that's actually bringing value to the space, and I just want to give a few shout outs to guys I really follow and love. I love the you guys, of course. Crypto is Depressing, and the Crypto Entrepreneurship, Crypto Weekly, Hash Rate, the Rec Podcast, Travis and Joel over at Bad Crypto. I mean, there's it's everybody stay positive, and you can follow me on Twitter if you want, Big Crypto Dave, and let's all try to ride the roller coaster back up.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Great
really
talking with you guys
appreciate it.
too.